Hi everyone, Varna here. Now let's see one of the major fat soluble vitamin, vitamin D. It is otherwise called as a sunshine vitamin because it is synthesized from sunlight with the help of sunlight. Vitamin D, otherwise called as cholecalciferol, and it is a prohormone. The active form is calcitriol, that is 125 dihydroxycholecalciferol. Other name is 125 dihydroxycholecalciferol. So it is the active form of vitamin D. Active form of vitamin D is cholecalciferol or 125 dihydroxycholecalciferol. That is on the first position and the 25th carbon position there is OH group attached to become active form. And the major storage form is 25 hydroxycholecalciferol or calcidiol. Major sources, vitamin D major source, it is with the help of sunlight, and that is during the slanting rays of the sun, that is before 10 o'clock and after 4 o'clock. The slanting rays, it will be containing certain UV range around 350 nanometer, and in that wavelength vitamin D is synthesized in our skin. Underneath the skin it is be synthesized. When the skin is exposed to the slanting rays of the sunlight, it is synthesized. So the major source is sunlight, and it is also seen in saltwater fishes like salmon, sardine, etc., and other sources like fish liver oil, egg yolk, milk, butter. The body itself makes vitamin D when it is exposed to the sun. Other sources like cheese, butter, milk, fish, etc., are also there. RDA, recommended daily allowance. Even though it does many functions, the amount we need to carry out these functions is very less. In children it is 10 microgram per day or 400 international units. In adults it is 5 microgram per day, that is 200 international units. In pregnancy and lactation 100 microgram, and people having age above 60, they require 600 international units per day. Let's move on to the metabolism of vitamin D. So as I said, it is synthesized with the help of sunlight. So when the skin is exposed to the sunlight, the 7-dehydrocholesterol, that is a derivative of the during the cholesterol metabolism, it is one of the derivative of the cholesterol metabolism. So 7-dehydrocholesterol, which is present inside the skin, when that is exposed to the sunlight, it is getting converted into cholecalciferol, vitamin D3, and it is getting activated, or it is hydroxy group is being added with the help of liver and kidney, and therefore this cholecalciferol is activated in liver and kidney. OH group is added from liver and in kidney on the first and the 25th position to form 125 dihydroxy vitamin D3, and this vitamin D3 helps in maintenance of calcium in our blood. Let's see in detail how it is formed. That is from 7-dehydrocholesterol or ergosterol by the action of UV rays. Sunlight contains UV rays. 7-dehydrocholesterol is an intermediate of minor pathway of cholesterol synthesis. So this is present in under our skin. 7-dehydrocholesterol, which is an intermediate of cholesterol synthesis, it is present under our skin. In the malpighian layer of the epidermis it is present, and when this skin is exposed to UV rays ranging from 290 to 315 nanometers, there is a breakage of bond between the 9th and the 10th steroid ring of the cholesterol. So the 9th and the 10th steroid ring is getting opened when it is getting exposed to the sunlight, having a UV rate ranging from 290 to 315. So that the ring is opening and it is forming the provitamin of vitamin D, stercosterol. Provitamin stercosterol, and this there is a cis double bond between 5th and the 6th carbon atom isomer to trans double bond. There is also a conversion from cis to trans double bond. So, when it is exposed to the UV rays, the ring is opening between, the ring is getting opened between the 9th and the 10th ring is getting opened, and also 5th and the 6th carbon atom cis to trans double bond change is also occurring. There is a isomerization from cis double bond to trans double bond from the 5th and the 6th carbon atom, and thus the cholecalciferol is being formed, or vitamin D3. So, this is the reason why it is called as a sunshine vitamin. And commercially, when we are preparing, it is derived from fungus ergot. Ergosterol is treated with this ergosterol is treated with UV rays to form vitamin D2. Let's just repeat the same, that is cholesterol. During the synthesis of cholesterol, there is an intermediate called as 7-dehydrocholesterol, and this 7-dehydrocholesterol is present under our skin, and when this 7-dehydrocholesterol is exposed to UV rays or slanting rays of sun ranging from 290 to 315 nanometers, it will undergo the changes. One change is the opening up of the ring, and next one is the isomerization from cis to trans double bond, and it is forming the pre-vitamin, and that is getting activated in the liver and in the kidney. On the first and the 25th position, there is OH group adding, and it is forming active vitamin D. Cholecalciferol, it is formed, and then it is entering into the measles in the gut, and it is absorbed and transported in the lymphocytes. In the lymphatics, it is being transported and it enters into the bloodstream, and it is transported after binding to the globulin protein, and vitamin D is being taken up by the liver for activation process. Let us see how it is activated. Vitamin D is activated in the liver and also in the kidney. Cholecalciferol, with the help of 25-hydroxylase enzyme in the liver, it is getting converted into 25-hydroxycholecalciferol. 25th position OH group is being added with the help of 25-hydroxylase enzyme. Then this 25-hydroxycholecalciferol is converted into 1,25-dihydroxycholecalciferol with the help of the enzyme 1-alpha-hydroxylase, which is present in the kidney. So, with the help of liver and kidney, OH group is being added onto the 25th and the first position, and it is getting activated. It is forming 1,25-dihydroxycholecalciferol, or active vitamin, or calcitriol. It is otherwise called as calcitriol. 1,25-dihydroxycholecalciferol, active vitamin D. Cholecalciferol first transported in liver, and hydroxylation is taking place in the 25th position, and enzyme hepatic 25-hydroxylase require cytochrome P450 and NADPH as the coenzymes. In kidney, it is hydroxylated at the first position. Enzyme 1-alpha-hydroxylase is required, and it requires cytochrome P450 and NADPH and ferredoxin. Ferredoxin is an iron sulfur protein. Major circulating form of 25-hydroxylated vitamin D, that is major circulating form is 25-hydroxylated vitamin D. 25-OH vitamin D is also stored in liver, adipose tissue, skeletal muscles, and its half-life is approximately 2 to 3 weeks. So, the storage form is 25-hydroxy vitamin D. Significant fractions of 125 OH vitamin D3 undergoes enterohepatic circulation, and distributions lead to the deficiency of vitamin D. Disturbances can lead to deficiency of vitamin D. Next is the regulation of vitamin D. 1-alpha-hydroxylase is the regulating enzyme. It is present inside the mitochrome of the proximal renal tubules. So, 1-alpha-hydroxylase, which is present in the renal system, which is present in the kidney. It is the regulating enzyme of vitamin D metabolism, and this 1-alpha-hydroxylase is regulated by the serum calcium concentration and also serum phosphate concentration. When there is adequate level, the calcitriol itself will enhance the synthesis of 24,25 dihydroxy vitamin D, which is the inert form of vitamin D. 25 hydroxylation in the kidney and vitamin deficiency enhances the action of 1 alpha hydroxylase. So, one of the main function of vitamin D is maintaining the normal calcium level. So, it is the serum calcium level which is helping in maintaining the function of 1 alpha hydroxylase enzyme. So, thus 1 alpha hydroxylase is the rate limiting enzyme of vitamin D metabolism, and if there is adequate level of calcitriol, that itself will enhance the synthesis of 24,25 dihydroxy vitamin D. So, if there is adequate level of vitamin D in our body, it is getting converted into 24,25, the remaining is getting converted into 24,25 dihydroxy vitamin D, which is the inert form. So, it is remaining in our body as an inert form, it is not getting activated, and that is taking place, 24 hydroxylation is taking place in the kidney. And when there is a vitamin D deficiency, so calcitriol is not up to the mark or up to the level, that is enhancing the action of 1 alpha hydroxylase for the further activation of vitamin D. Next, we will move on to the functions of vitamin D. Vitamin D exerts its effect in 3 organs. So, the effects are upon the 3 organs. First one is the intestine, next one bone and kidney. One of the main responsibility of vitamin D is to maintain the normal blood calcium level. So, it is responsible for the regulation of calcium level and also phosphorus level. Vitamin D, it is responsible for the regulation of calcium and phosphorus level in our blood, and as I said, the first effect is upon the intestine for the absorption of calcium and phosphorus. In the intestine, the vitamin D increases the absorption of calcium and phosphorus. The calcium and phosphorus present in our diet is being absorbed with the help of vitamin D. From the intestinal cells to the blood, calcium absorption needs energy, and this energy is either by sodium calcium exchange mechanism or by pumping out the calcium calbindin complex. Calcitriol acts as a steroid hormone in the intestine. During the absorption of calcium, it acts as a steroid hormone, and it diffuses through the cell and binds with cytoplasmic receptors. The hormone receptors complex interacts with the DNA depression, and it active HRE starts transcribing by activating the gene that is coding for the calbindin, and thus it increases the absorption of calcium. Calcitriol, during the absorption of calcium, it acts as a steroid hormone, in which it is diffusing into the cell like a hormone. It is diffusing into the cell, and it is binding with the receptors, cytoplasmic receptor it is binding, and this hormone receptor complex, calcitriol with the receptor complex is interacting with the DNA depression, and it activates the HRE, and it starts transcribing the activation of the gene code for calbindin. So, more of calbindin is being released, and calbindin increases the absorption of calcium. This is how it is helping in increasing the absorption of calcium. Next one, affecting bones. How vitamin D is affecting the bones. It increases the activity of osteoblast. That is, it is increasing the mineralization of bones. Calcium minerals is being added to the bones with the help of vitamin D, and there is increased ALP enzyme. So, the local concentration of the phosphate is also increased. When ALP is increased, phosphate level is also increased in the area. Ionic products of calcium and phosphorus is increased, therefore, it is increasing the mineralization. So, vitamin D is helping in mineralization of the bones. Next one, in the renal, in the kidney, effect of vitamin D in the renal tubules. In renal tubules, it is increasing the reabsorption of calcium and phosphorus by the renal tubules. So, mainly this vitamin D is affecting on 3 organs. One is the intestine, in which it is increasing the absorption of calcium and phosphorus. Whenever there is a deficiency of calcium and phosphorus in our body, the absorption is being increased by producing more of calbindin, by binding it with the receptor complex. So, calcitriol is forming a receptor complex, and increased production of calbindin is occurring, and it increases the absorption of calcium in the intestine. Next one is in the bones. It is increasing the mineralization. Calcium and phosphorus is being mineralized, it is being added on to the bones. So, it increases the mineralization in the bones. Next one in the renal tubules. Renal tubules, the reabsorption, calcium and phosphorus is reabsorbed from the renal tubules, so that is not excreted through the urine. Then vitamin D acts along with parathormone. It stimulates the reabsorption of calcium at the distal renal tubules and decreases the calcium excretion. Next function, it is the deficiency of vitamin D. Deficiency of vitamin D in children, it can lead to rickets, continued formation of osteoid matrix and cartilage which is improperly mineralized, resulting of soft bones. So, as I said, vitamin D is helping in the mineralization of the bones. So, if there is vitamin D deficiency, there will be deficiency of calcium also. So, if there is calcium deficiency, there is no mineralization of the bones. Calcium is not added onto the bones, is mainly made up of calcium. So, if it is not mineralized, or if there is no calcium added onto the bones become soft, and in children it can lead to rickets, and in adults it is called as osteomalacia. It is demineralization of the bones, make it softer and susceptible for fractures. Let me move on to the deficiency of vitamin D. Deficiency, it's mainly seen in people who are not exposed to sun. Then when there is a nutritional deficiency of calcium and phosphorus, then if there is fat malabsorption, vitamin D is a fat soluble vitamin. So, if there is any fat malabsorption diseases, this vitamin D deficiency will also be seen in people who is having fat soluble vitamin, fat malabsorption. Then severe liver and kidney diseases, because liver and kidney is helping in the hydroxylation or activation of vitamin D. So, if there is any liver or kidney diseases, the activation of vitamin D is not occurring. So, active vitamin D will not be available for its function. So, that also can lead to vitamin D deficiency. Then vegetarians who are having low calcium or rich fiber diet, in those people also vitamin deficiency is also seen. Then people taking drugs like corticosteroids converts it into inactive metabolites. So, people who are on drug administrations like corticosteroids, these corticosteroids is converting the vitamin D into inactive forms. So, it is not available for its function. Let us see what are the clinical features of rickets. Rickets, the bones become soft and palleable. There is decreased calcium and phosphorus. Then classical feature of the are bone deformalities. There will be bow legs. The legs will be in a bow shaped, because the weight bearing bone is not hard. The leg bones need to be very strong and hard. So, the weight bearing bone, if it is soft, it becomes bow legs. Due to the weight of the body, it is getting in a bow shaped. Knock knee, then rosary rickets, frontal blossing, the frontal bone, the bone on the head, the frontal bones, you know what is frontal bone, it is on the skull, that is protruding. The frontal bone is protruding, that is frontal blossing. Then rosary rickets, that is onto the ribs. The tip of the ribs, there will be a small there will be a small edema, like small protruding things, that is why it is called as rosary. You know what is rosary, that which we use in church, the rosary. So, like beads onto at the tip of the ribs, there will be small bead like protrusion, and that is forming the rosary rickets. Knock knee, then pigeon chest, the chest will be protruded, So that is called as pigeon chest. Pigeon's chest is protruded. So similarly, those who are having rickets, babies who are having rickets, their chest will be protruded. That is called as pigeon chest. Then Harrison sulcus. Let's see the features. Here you can see the bow legs. The legs are in the form of bow. The weight bearing bones which is in the legs, they due to the weight of the body, since the bones are soft, it is getting into the bow shaped. So that is the bow legs. Then rosary rickets. Here you can see bead like protrusion. Sorry. Rosary rickets on the tip of the onto the tip of the ribs there is beads like protrusion, and that is called as a rosary rickets. Then there is protrusion in the frontal bone. You can see the x-ray of the skull where there is protrusion, frontal blousing. Then pigeon chest, the chest will be protruded. Next we will see the types of rickets. Classical vitamin D resistant rickets, which is cured with the intake of vitamin D. When vitamin D rich diet is taken, classical vitamin D resistant rickets has been reversed. Then hypophosphatemic rickets due to the renal tubular reabsorption of phosphate. Then this can be supplementation of vitamin D with phosphate is useful in such cases. That is, phosphate is lower, reabsorption of phosphate is being altered. So vitamin D along with phosphate, if it is given, that has been reversed. Then associated with Fanconi's syndrome, that is the defect in the reabsorption of bicarbonate, phosphate, glucose and amino acids, that is a Fanconi syndrome. Next one is the renal rickets, that is due to the kidney diseases. Vitamin D is available, but calcitriol is not synthesized. Vitamin D is not getting converted into its active form. That is called as the renal rickets due to the kidney diseases. Vitamin D is available, but active form is not synthesized. Administration of calcitriol is useful in such cases. Then next one is end organ refractoriness to 125 dihydrocholecalciferol decreases if there is no systolic receptors. That is due to the defect in the receptors for its action. Next one is osteomalacia, that is bone are softened due to the insufficient mineralization and increased osteoporosis activity. There will be decreased serum calcium level and phosphorus and increased ALP value. So mineralization of bones will not be occurring and the bones become weakened. The bone matrix will be weakened. Next one, the toxicity of vitamin D, that is hypervitaminosis D. Doses above 1500 units per day can lead to toxicity, and the symptoms includes weakness, polyuria, intense thirst, difficulty in speaking, hypertension and weight loss. Then during vitamin D toxicity you can see hypercalcemia, that is excessive level of calcium in blood, and this leads to calcinosis, that is deposition of calcium, excessive calcium onto the bones and the joints. Here in this picture you can see excessive calcium, the whiter part, that is excessive calcium deposition onto the bones. Another fact about vitamin D, this is that vitamin D toxicity will not be caused due to excessive exposure to sunlight. If you are excessively exposed to sunlight, there won't be any vitamin D toxicity. Thank you.